Learning new video editing software can be intimidating and overwhelming, and I know a lot of you are switching over from Adobe Premiere and looking to get into the free version of DaVinci Resolve. In today's video, I wanted to give you guys a quick beginner's guide to DaVinci Resolve, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be a little bit more comfortable with the software. You'll be able to make your first rough cut, you'll be familiar with the edit page, and if you're switching over from Adobe Premiere, you'll be able to wave goodbye to Adobe Premiere for good. The video you're about to watch is just one small section of my full filmmaking course for beginners called No Budget Filmmaking 101, where I walk you through the entire process of making your first no budget film using as little resources as possible. So if you find this video helpful, first of all, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and be sure to follow the link in the description below and check out the full course when you're ready. I hope you enjoy. When you open Resolve, it can feel like a spaceship. Tons of buttons, lots of pages, and it can look overwhelming. It was overwhelming for me when I first tried it, and I had been using Adobe Premiere for years. It's always tough learning new software, but once everything starts to click, you'll be editing video in no time. Here's the truth. You only need to know a few parts of this editing software to get the hang of it and start putting things together. Think of Resolve like a building with different rooms. The media page is where you import and organize your files. The edit page is where you cut your movie together. The Fairlight page is where you do audio and sound design. The color page is where you do your color correction and grading. And the deliver page is where you're going to export your project once you're ready to share it with the world. You don't need to master every page right now. You just need to follow the basics. And once you start trying to do things on your own and learning from the trial and error process, you'll eventually get the hang of this software in no time. Now I want you to create a new project and name it something clear like My No Budget Film. Now go to the media page. You're going to locate your project folder and bring the files that you've shot for your film into Resolve. Once you import your footage, you're not moving it from your computer. Resolve is basically looking at the files where they live. So don't rename or move files after you import them, or Resolve may lose track of them and not be able to show them to you in the editor. Once everything is imported, you're going to create bins. Bins are just folders inside of Resolve. Create bins that match your real folders like video, audio, music, sound effects, etc. and drag the files into the correct bins. This makes editing 10 times easier. I'm telling you, when it comes to editing, organization is going to help save you so much time. All right, before we cut anything, before we add music, and before we touch color, we need to understand where we are in this interface. The edit page is where you're going to spend about 90% of your time in DaVinci Resolve. You can do almost everything that you need to do on the edit page. When you click over to the edit page, it might look overwhelming at first. Most of what you're seeing right now is just optional stuff. You can make an entire short film using the most basic tools here. Think of the edit page like a workspace desk. Everything you need is here. Your footage, your timeline, your viewer, your tools, your effects. Yes, Resolve has other pages, media, Fairlight, color, deliver, but you don't really need to use all of them that much. You can do almost everything you need right here in the edit page. You can cut footage, you can make basic sound adjustments, you can add basic special effects, simple titles, and even rough color your work right here. So think of this as your home base in DaVinci Resolve. I want to give you a brief overview of the interface so you know your way around and what you're looking at. Let's start at the top. You'll usually see one or two viewer windows. The window on the left is your source viewer, and the one on the right is the timeline viewer. The source viewer is where you preview clips before adding them to your timeline. And the timeline viewer shows what's currently on your timeline, what your audience is going to be seeing. If you only see one viewer, that's okay. Resolve lets you toggle between them. As a beginner, don't overthink this. Left window is for previews, right window is your actual movie. In the upper left, you'll see something called the media pool. This is where your imported footage is going to live. If you don't see it, click the media pool button at the top left. Think of the media pool like your digital filing cabinet. This is not your movie yet, this is the ingredients to make your movie. You can drag clips from the media pool into the timeline to start building out your film. Now look at the bottom half of the screen. This is your timeline. This is where your movie lives. Left is the beginning and right is the end. The horizontal tracks are layers. Video tracks are usually labeled V1, V2, V3, and audio tracks are labeled A1, A2, A3, etc. If you stack clips vertically, the higher track appears on top visually. This is important later for titles and overlays, but for now, keep things simple. Put your main video footage on V1 and your main dialogue or audio on A1. One of the most common beginner frustrations is not knowing how to zoom in and out on the timeline. Here are the easiest ways. Option 1, hold Alt or Option and scroll your mouse wheel. Option 2, use the zoom slider at the bottom of the timeline. Zooming in lets you make precise cuts, and zooming out lets you see the big picture. If you ever feel lost in your timeline, zoom out. And if you need to trim something precisely, zoom in close. Now let's talk about tools. Look above your timeline. You'll see some small icons. The arrow icon is the selection tool. This is your default tool for selecting clips. You'll use this tool to move clips, trim them, and select them. Next is the blade tool, also called the cut tool. This is the razor blade icon. You'll be using this a lot. When you click it, you can cut a clip anywhere you click. Shortcut. Press B on your keyboard to switch to the blade tool. Press A to switch back to the selection tool. This can help save you a bit of time. You'll use these two tools constantly, so being able to switch back and forth quickly is a must. Almost everything you do in editing is move, trim, cut, and repeat. You might not even need the blade tool most of the time. To trim a clip, hover your mouse over the edge of a clip until the cursor changes. Then click and drag inward or outward to shorten or make it longer. This is how you can tighten scenes. Remember, editing is removing what doesn't serve the story. On the top right of the screen, you'll see something called the inspector. If you don't see it, click Inspector in the upper right corner. The inspector is where you adjust individual clip settings like position, zoom, rotation, opacity, volume. If you want to resize a clip, move it, or fade it, you use the inspector. For beginners, this is where you'll scale clips up or down, adjust volume, add simple fades. It's not scary, it's just clip settings. This is also where you can adjust effects that are placed on your clips as well. And speaking of effects, on the left side near the media pool, you'll see something called Effects. Click it. This opens the effects library. Inside here, you'll find video transitions, audio transitions, titles, basic effects. Like if you want a cross dissolve between clips, this is where it lives. If you want to add text to your film, this is where you'll find different titles. Here's a beginner's rule. Use transitions sparingly. Most professional films use straight cuts. Fancy transitions often make beginner films look less professional. You can add an effect to any clip on your timeline just by dragging and dropping, and then adjust its different settings in the inspector window. You don't even have to visit the Fairlight page for simple audio adjustments. If you click on an audio clip, you can adjust its volume right here on the timeline in the edit page. There's a small horizontal line through the clip. Just drag it up and down. You can also use the inspector to adjust clip volume as well. For basic short films, this is going to be enough to get you to the finish line. Here's a few keyboard shortcuts that will make editing faster immediately. Use the space bar to stop and play playback on the timeline. Like I said earlier, B will bring up your blade tool, and A brings up your selection tool. Hit the delete key to remove a selected clip. Control or Command plus Z is going to be your undo button. Learning those simple shortcuts might save you tons of time in the editing process. Resolve has a cut page, a fusion page, a color page, and a Fairlight page. And as a beginner, you don't need to know fusion at all. That's for advanced visual effects. And you don't need to use the cut page if you're comfortable in the edit page. You can do 90% of what you need inside the edit page. You can cut your film here, add basic transitions, add titles, adjust volume. Only move to the other pages when you need something specific or you're ready to get into more advanced techniques. Just keep things simple. The edit page is not about clicking everything, it's about clarity. Bring your footage in, build your rough cut, trim the fat, refine the timing, adjust basic sound, and if you master just this page, you may be able to finish your film without even going to the other pages. The other pages are just going to enhance your film, but this page builds it out. Now it's time to try our hand at the color page. The color page looks scary, but you only need a small part of it to do some good work. You're not here to become a professional colorist. You are here to make your footage look consistent, clean, and intentional. That's it. So let's slow this way down. And when you click on the color page, you'll see your image in the viewer, a timeline of clips at the bottom, and a bunch of controls underneath the viewer. Those controls are called your color wheels, and they're where you're going to spend most of your time when you're in the color page. Think of the color page as having two jobs. First, fix any problems, and second, add style if you want to. We always want to fix problems with our footage first before we move on to adding style or what's called a color grade. Before we touch color wheels or LUTs, you need to understand one concept: nodes. When I first started using nodes, I was completely lost and terrified. Coming from Adobe Premiere, which doesn't use a node system, I was completely out of my element. But once I took a step back, took a deep breath, and really dove in and tried to figure these things out, now it became second nature to me. A node is just a step in your color process. Each node does one job. So instead of piling everything into one adjustment, Resolve lets you build a chain of different adjustments step by step. You don't need a complicated node tree. First, let's start with exposure. Exposure is how bright or dark your image is. If your image is too dark, everything feels muddy, and if it's too bright, highlights are blown out and they look pretty ugly. In the color page, you'll see color wheels labeled Lift, Gamma, and Gain. Here's what those mean in plain English. Lift controls the darkest parts of the image, the shadows. Gamma is going to control the middle tones. Faces and skin tones usually live here. Gain controls the brightest parts of the image, the highlights. So here's how you adjust exposure safely. First, look at the image and find the face. Faces are your priority when color grading and color correcting. Use Gamma to adjust how bright the face looks. Don't touch the lift or gain wheels yet. Once the face looks natural, then you can adjust lift slightly if the shadows feel crushed or too flat. Then adjust gain to control bright areas like windows, lamps, or sky. Move these wheels very slowly. Small adjustments make a big difference. If you find yourself making extreme changes, something else is wrong and you need to stop and reassess. Once exposure is roughly correct, we move on to fixing the contrast. Contrast is the difference between dark and light areas. Most flat-looking footage just needs a little contrast boost. In Resolve, there's a contrast slider you can use, or you can gently push lift down and gain up to increase the contrast. Here's the rule. If it looks dramatic but fake, you went too far. If it feels subtle but cleaner, you're doing it just right. Beginners almost always overdo contrast. Remember, you're grading for a movie, not Instagram. Now we can fix our white balance. White balance is what tells the camera what neutral looks like. If your image looks too orange or too blue or too green, too magenta, this is where you can fix it. In the color page, look for the temperature and tint controls. Temperature moves between blue and orange, and tint moves between green and magenta. Here's how to use them. Find something in the shot that should be neutral, a white wall, a gray object, or you can use skin tones. Adjust temperature until it feels natural. Then adjust tint until skin tones stop looking sick or unnatural. Don't chase perfection. Your goal here is for the shot to feel believable. Before you can even think about using a LUT to style your footage, you need to make sure your shots match each other. If one shot is brighter, warmer, or more contrasty than the next, the edit feels amateur. So click through your clips one by one and do the same basic corrections. Exposure, contrast, and then white balance. You're not stylizing yet, you're just making sure nothing feels too distracting. Consistency matters more than style. Once you have all of your shots consistent and looking natural, we can move on to talking about LUTs. A LUT is a look. It's not a fix, it's not magic, it's just a starting point to give you a style for your footage. To apply a LUT in Resolve, you'll usually add it to a new node. Create a new node after your correction node and apply the LUT to that node. The LUT will probably look too strong. That's normal. Lower the intensity of the LUT by reducing the node's key output or mixing strength. If your first reaction is wow, it's probably too much. And if your reaction is this feels nice, you're probably doing it right. One of the fastest ways to ruin a grade is bad skin tones. After applying a LUT, look at the faces. If they look too orange, too red, too gray, or too green, you need to pull it back. Skin should look alive, not stylized. If the LUT fights skin tones, lower it or remove it altogether. No LUT is better than a bad LUT. And don't forget that you can apply a LUT to an adjustment clip in DaVinci Resolve. Adjustment clips are found in the Effects panel toolbox. You can place the adjustment clip over any video clips on your entire timeline, apply a LUT to the adjustment clip, and affect the entire timeline with that one LUT. This makes it easier to match entire projects or scenes together without having to go in and put a LUT on each individual clip. The hardest part of color grading is knowing when to stop. If you keep pushing sliders because you're bored, you'll ruin your image. Here's the test. Turn the grade on and off. If the graded version feels cleaner and more intentional, stop. If it feels flashy or distracting, pull it back down a bit. Subtle is going to win every time. And if you're grading a whole film, don't try to grade everything in one sitting. Your eyes get tired and your judgment gets even worse. Grade a few scenes and take a break, and then come back. Fresh eyes catch mistakes immediately. The same thing can be said about sound design too. When your ears get tired, you might need to take a break and come back to the project later. You don't need to be a color expert to make your film look great. You just need clean exposure, consistent white balance, gentle contrast, and be able to use restraint when necessary. That alone will put your film ahead of most beginners' work. Now let's talk about sound. Sound will make or break your film faster than anything else. You can get away with imperfect visuals, but you cannot get away with bad audio. Most people don't realize this consciously, but the moment sound feels wrong, viewers are going to check out. And in DaVinci Resolve, all sound work happens in the Fairlight page. Think of the Fairlight page as a professional audio studio built into your video editing program. But don't panic. We're not going to be using everything today. We're just going to focus on what actually matters. Let's start with the timeline. It's very much like a video timeline, and each horizontal lane is an audio track. You might have a dialogue on one track, music on another, or sound effects on another. This separation is important. If everything is on one track, you're going to lose control. So your first job is organization. Dialogue lives on its own track, music needs to live on its own track, and sound effects need to live on their own track. This is going to let you adjust each type of sound individually without affecting the other sounds. Of course, dialogue is king. You need to focus on dialogue before any music, sound effects, and before you style anything. If people can't understand what's being said, nothing else is going to matter. So mute everything except your dialogue. Listen closely. Is it too quiet? Is it muffled? Is it distorted? Is there background noise? We're trying to get clarity with our dialogue first. In Fairlight, audio volume is measured in decibels. Here's the simple rule. Dialogue should usually sit between -12 and -6 dB. If it's lower than that, it's going to feel weak. If it's higher, it's going to risk being distorted. So play the dialogue and watch those meters. If it's too quiet, raise the clip volume. If it's too loud, lower it. Do this before adding any effects. Now we clean the dialogue up a little bit. You don't need advanced plugins, you just need to start simple. If the dialogue sounds boomy or muddy, gently reduce low frequencies with an EQ. If it sounds harsh, reduce high frequencies slightly. Don't aggressively cut, just do small adjustments only. If you hear any background noise like a hum or a hiss, You can use noise reduction carefully to get rid of those kinds of sounds. The key word here is carefully. Too much noise reduction creates robotic, boxy sounding underwater voices. If noise reduction makes the dialogue sound worse, you need to undo it. Clarity beats cleanliness. Compression scares people, but it's simple. Compression reduces the difference between loud and quiet sounds. That means quiet dialogue becomes easier to hear, and loud dialogue doesn't jump out at you. This makes your audio feel more professional and consistent. Apply light compression to your dialogue. You're not crushing it, you're just smoothing it out. If you hear pumping or distortion, you may have went too far. Now it's time to export your film and get it ready for people to see. This is where everything becomes real. Exporting doesn't change your edit, it just creates the final file for you. In Resolve, exporting happens on the Deliver page. Exporting in Resolve and taking your timeline and turning it into a video file that can be shared is a big step. Different platforms want different file settings. We're going to keep this simple and safe. If you're uploading to YouTube, here's the things that matter. Your format should be MP4. You should use a codec of H.264 or H.265. Resolution should match your timeline, and the frame rate should match your timeline as well. YouTube will compress your video anyway, so don't panic about perfection. Use a high-quality preset if available. Make sure your audio is included, and name your file clearly, and then export it. For platforms like FilmHub or festivals, quality matters even more. You may be asked for ProRes, high bitrate, special audio standards. Just always check delivery specs. Never guess. Export a clean master file and keep it safe. This becomes your source for all future versions. And if they end up rejecting your project, you can always go back and make the changes and resubmit it. And there you have it, guys. If DaVinci Resolve still feels a little bit too overwhelming for you, I do have a full guide to getting started with CapCut on the channel as well. CapCut is a little bit more simple and beginner friendly, so if you're interested, check that out. But I highly recommend getting familiar with DaVinci Resolve if you can. It's the most powerful free video editing software out there. It's really changed my life, and I think if you just dip your toes in and start messing around with it, you'll get comfortable pretty quick and you'll be glad that you checked it out. Like I said at the start of the video, if you found this video helpful, remember this is just one small part of my full filmmaking course. We just launched it on the store. No Budget Filmmaking 101, a complete guide for beginners, where we walk you through the entire filmmaking process from pre-production, production, post-production, and distribution. It's the easiest way to make your first no-budget film without having a ton of resources at your disposal. If you check it out, you'll be helping support the channel in a big way, and you'll have my undying gratitude. Thank you guys so much for coming along on this filmmaking journey with me. I am Ryan, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.